Gracias por continuar con nosotros en Panorámico, una producción del Tecnológico de Monterrey. Continuamos con Daniel Vieira y esa interesante entrevista acerca de Surinam. Daniel, thank you for staying with us. Now I would like to ask you a little bit more about yourself. You, if I understand correctly, you are a lawyer, but you became a military. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
In 2000, actually 1998, I started as an intern at the Ministry of Defense, working on the task of the military in peace and wartime. I really liked it, so I applied and I got the job. So I started as a junior lawyer in the Office of Legal Affairs. Within a year, probably they thought that I had a lot of capacity. I moved towards the armed forces, and that's where I went. I was the legal advisor to the commander, assisting him in all kind of issues on legal issues, on operations and whatsoever. So everything that has to do with legal issues, I was there beside him. Within 2 years, I went back to the Ministry of Defense, and from there I moved to the United States to do my master's in international development policy with a specialization in conflict resolution. Got back in 2006, and I got the job as head of the International Affairs Department. I must say that I need to go back, because while I was in the armed forces working for as the legal advisor, I thought, you know, something that I had as a girl when I was very young, as in becoming a military. Only men wear military, and I thought, why not women? So I asked to join, and that's what I did. So in 2001, I became a military officer.
So at the beginning, you entered the armed forces as a civilian,
yes,
working as a lawyer.
Yeah.
And then you went through the training,
yeah,
become a military, and start your career within the armed forces.
Yes.
But what kind of training are we talking about to become part of the military?
When you start, or when you want to become a military, you need to go through basic training. That's where for a couple of weeks, maybe months, you go with other people that also want to become military. You will go through a very rigorous training where you will learn how to become a military, how to think different, and all aspects of being a military are taught to you. So you need to go through that.
Okay. Being a woman within the armed forces, what has been your biggest challenge?
My biggest challenge was to let people know and let people see that I am capable of doing the same things that my male counterparts can do. It's still a challenge, because sometimes people will say like, oh, you cannot do that, or you are not allowed to. So those are the challenges that I have, and I'm trying to, through my work, how I do my work, to let people see, men and women, that I am capable of doing things.
What is the ratio between men and women within the armed forces in Suriname?
If you think that we have, our armed forces is not very big. We have approximately 2,300 personnel, and from that group, 115 are women. So that gives you an idea that
but
we
is
are
less than 10%
yes,
of the military are
yeah,
women. And within those 150 women, what kind of tasks do they do?
We have, as female officers, we have more the administrative positions in the armed forces. Women are not allowed to go into combat or going to infantry, because the infantry is actually the war troops of the armed forces. So even if you're infantry, like I'm wearing infantry batons because I went through infantry training, I will never go to a deployment to be part of the group. So those are things that women cannot do. But in Suriname, we are in administrative positions, HR, nurses, in the finance department, and in the international department. So.
And you, as a woman there, what is your specific job that you do as head of the Department of International Affairs?
I assist and advise the Minister of Defense on defense international issues. I accompany him if he needs to go somewhere to represent Suriname on defense matters. I sit also in the policy committee of the Ministry of Defense, or in interdepartmental committees on issues on defense, on policy of the country, on security, you name it. So I can say that I'm very much busy in the armed forces.
Okay. And in those tasks that you perform, accompanying him to different countries, what countries have you visited on your position?
Well, not only with him, but I went a lot to the United States, to Brazil. I went to, I'm about to go to Indonesia next month, and Guatemala. There are a lot of countries. I need to think about those. Yeah, there are a lot. I cannot, call all of them, but I must say there are some. Where I went with the minister or alone for defense issues.
And of those missions that you work with, advising in legal and security issues, which one do you think has been the most delicate for the Surinamese government?
I think the one in 2007 where I went with the minister to Brazil, as in where we went to discuss our bilateral cooperation, bringing it from the one level to the another one. So that was very delicate.
And Suriname has different bilateral agreements on security issues. You mentioned one in Brazil. I understand you have one in the US and also one in China.
Yeah.
How do you handle having those relationships, bilateral relations, with countries that are not friendly to each other, such as the US and China?
Well, in our position, we think that we are a country that sits between. We are a small country, and we need to know how to deal with all the challenges that we have around us. And what we have is diplomacy and the use of soft power, how to attract countries to come towards us. And we make the countries around us understand that, one, we are a sovereign nation, but we believe that in international cooperation with all nations around us. So in Suriname, for instance, if you look at China and Brazil, we have a couple of Chinese people living in Suriname, descendants of immigrants, and also people from Brazil. And we believe that we need to have good relationships with those countries. So we make sure that they know that we are friends of each other.
But despite of being a small country and being able to sit within these two big countries, like China and the US, how you handle that military situations, for example, when somebody from a different rank comes to the country and you still have to deal with that, not only the rank, but the personality of the person?
That is part, when you look at that, it's part of how you are personally, and in your head, the goals of the country and the goals of the organization. So in terms of myself, I'm a captain. For people who know, that's one of the, that's a subalternate officer's rank. That is not a high rank. It's not a 06 officer, which starts from major up. So sometimes when it's a little bit too difficult, I need to step beside, make a step behind so that someone else can step up front to have the discussions with the person, or I can sit beside the person and make sure that our information still comes across.
Tania, we'll be right back again. Muchas gracias por seguir con nosotros. Continuamos en Panorámico, una producción del Tecnológico de Monterrey.